Hello and welcome to Woven Threads, an oral history project focused on capturing personal narratives and experiences of migration and intersectionalities. Today is the 17th of February, 2024, and I am here with Miyanda. Could you please state your full name for the record?
Hello, my name is Miyanda Simalabwi.
Thank you. Today we will be discussing various aspects of your life and your experiences. The purpose of this interview is to preserve your unique perspectives and contribute to a broader understanding of the intersections of experiences and identities that create the profound narratives. Your insights will help future generations appreciate the richness and diversity of the experiences of women and particularly female migrants. Before we proceed, I want to assure you that your participation is entirely voluntary. At any point during the interview, if you wish to pause, skip a question, or withdraw your consent, please let me know. Your privacy and confidentiality are important to us, and we will take reasonable measures to protect your personal information. However, please note that the interview will be recorded and may be shared with the public or used in educational materials. Are you comfortable proceeding with the interview under these conditions?
Yes, I am.
Great. Thank you for your cooperation. Could you please share when and where you were born?
So I was born in 2007 in Pretoria, South Africa.
Thank you. Could you share your journey of migrating to the different countries? Wait, first of all, could you describe all of the countries that you've lived in so far?
So I've lived in South Africa, Sweden, Zambia, and Korea.
Mhm.
And basically, it all started when I was two. So I moved to Sweden when I was two, and I pretty much consider that my childhood because I lived there up until the age of 7. Then I moved to Zambia for 3 years. I'm ethnically Zambian, and so my mom wanted us to be back home, and so I lived there for 3 years until I moved back to South Africa. We only stayed in South Africa for about a year before I moved to Korea, and then I stayed in Korea for 4 years, and I've been back in South Africa for the past year and a half, I think. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Could you please elaborate more on the circumstances that led to your migration?
Okay, so the first one, I think it was, yeah, my dad got a job in Sweden. It was really like aligned with what he was passionate about. Till this day, he actually still works for the same organization, but he's the head of the South African department. So that's really nice. When we moved to Zambia, it was really because my mom was feeling really homesick. Living abroad a lot can be very lonely, especially because you're away from your family a lot of the time. The people, you went to university and school with are in different places. Moving to South Africa, it was, yeah, my dad had moved here because my dad had been in the US previously when we were in Zambia. So he had moved here, and my mom obviously also wanted our family to be fully intact. And so we moved here to join him a few months later, I believe. And then to Korea was like the biggest, most random move, I think, because my mom hadn't even looked for a job in Korea. It was they kind of found her and they said, "Hey, we really want you." And my mom, she looked at the job description and it is literally everything she has ever wanted in a job. It's everything she studied for. And so the deciding factor for us moving there was really me because she wanted it, but she did not want to take it if I wasn't going to come with her. And so that was a big change going there, but I really loved it. And coming back again, she was lonely. She missed her family. My dad was still living here. And yeah, it's had its ups and downs, but we're here and we're together. So I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. How did you adapt to the new cultures and lifestyles in all the different countries that you've lived in? Were there any specific challenges or adjustments you had to make?
Moving to Sweden, I don't think it was a big change because I was only 2 years old. So I really grew up for the most part in Swedish culture. To this day, when my parents and I disagree about something, it's like, oh no, it's because you're raised in Sweden. Um, but I think the one of the big changes when I went to Zambia was now being in what is my home country, I felt very excluded because I wasn't raised in the same way that they were raised. I didn't have the same traditions in my family as they had. I didn't speak my home language because my parents never taught it to me because I didn't need it. And so that was a big, I think, culture shock for me because I wasn't used to that treatment. And then moving to Korea was I think it must have been the biggest change, obviously, different language, different people. And I was a lot older as well, so I was more conscious of things. But the only real adjustment I had to really make was just like really embracing a different culture because it had been a while since I'd been around one that's so completely different from mine. Learning the language, for example. But I really did enjoy all these aspects as well. So I would say it was actually a really positive experience.
Thank you. Did you ever experience like language barriers in the different countries you've lived in?
Sweden, no, because I was fluent in Swedish.
Hmm.
South Africa, where I currently live, yes, every day, because people assume I speak South African languages, which I don't because I've barely lived here. Korea, 100%. But I worked through those a lot because I did do Korean for 4 years. So I was able to kind of navigate in most situations. If I was really lost, Google Translate was my best friend.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Could you describe your childhood just in the different countries that you've lived in and some of your earliest memories?
Okay, so yeah, my childhood. So I'm gonna start in Sweden because I don't
Mm.
remember anything before that, if I'm being quite honest. I went to kindergarten there and I started like, my school grade, yeah, there. I loved it because obviously, little kid in a place with snow during Christmas and what like, I could go on boat trips all year round. My family was really busy at that point in time. My dad was traveling a lot for work. But I did really have a positive experience. I had a lot of freedom for a kid because I lived in such a safe country. I was genuinely really happy. I spoke the language, so it really did feel like home. Like it was home to me. I remember when I moved, it was actually the most heartbreaking thing because I was so, so upset that I had to, go to Zambia where I'd never lived before and leave everything I've literally known. Well, I think one of my earliest memories has to be Santa Lucia. This is like a Swedish tradition around December. I think it's December 13th. And I haven't seen it practiced in many other countries, but I know a few European countries also celebrate it. And all I can remember is wearing this like big oversized white gown and this like green crown with like these like fake candles because I can't use real ones because I'm a kid. And you'd sing the song and you'd be holding a candle and it would be like a line of like preschool kids performing for their parents during Santa Lucia. And it's just one of those things that I think I kind of miss is having those like little holidays that just like bring everyone together. And then I moved to Zambia, and at this point, I think I was only in third grade to fifth grade, and that was a big change, obviously. Um, I was really upset for a while. Of course, I missed a lot of my friends. I eventually adapted, but it was still a struggle. I think the only reason I like don't dislike that experience is because I had my mom and my sister really there for me during that time. And we just were kind of each other's support systems because my dad was in a different country at that point in time. But it was interesting. I started doing gymnastics, which then became my favorite sport. And it led to me doing a bunch of other sports that were kind of related to that. I got really into dance, which was amazing. And I started doing the sports that some of them I still do today. Like I started doing basketball, which I'm currently still doing. I'm not great at it, but at least it's something I enjoy. And I think that's where I want to cut off my childhood from. I don't think I can count 12 and above. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. You mentioned your family. Could you please elaborate more on what your family was like or is
Mm,
like? My bad.
in what terms do you mean? Sorry.
Um, Maybe just like how many siblings you have, what your parents are like, maybe some memories associated with them.
Okay. So I have one sister. She's currently living in Dubai at the moment. She's just finishing up her master's degree. And then I live with my mother and my father currently. My mom is literally my best friend, if I'm being quite honest. I've always been extremely close with her. I look a lot like her too, so that doesn't help it. But my mom is a very warm person, and she's the first person I go to if something's making me feel upset or angry. And she really is. my support system, especially when we moved back to South Africa, because leaving Korea was really rough for me because I was leaving my best friends and a school that I actually really liked. And so, yeah, I love my mom very much. My father, I haven't lived with most of my life because he's been really busy with work and travel for a lot of our lives. Right now, he is actually on a business trip. So I think that just kind of proves my point. But I do really care for my father. He cares a lot about me and he does make sure to show it. We differ a lot sometimes in like opinions on things, and that does cause a bit of tension sometimes. But I think in the past few years, we've really gotten a lot closer, which is a result of I think us having moved and then having come back to him. I think he really did miss us in that time period. So we have like more intentional time we spend together. He loves to play tennis with me. We go and we walk my dog together. It's a lot, but we're getting closer, and it's good. I'm enjoying it.
Thank you for sharing that. Did you have a religion throughout your
Oh yeah,
life?
yeah. So my family is Christian. I am too. And so yeah, we're still Christian till this point.
Do you think religion played a role in your life while growing up?
I don't know if it played a massive role in my life per se. I've always, my family's always been, you know, the type to go to church. We all own our own Bibles, but especially because I've lived in so many different places, with different cultures, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you fade in and out of your like religion almost, which sounds kind of horrible, but it's a learning curve and you're growing, through it. And there are some things that I have issues in with my own religion. There's some things that I acknowledge from other religions that I'm just like, that really makes a lot of sense. And so I think what I've learned really from being like religious my whole life is religious tolerance, like being able to accept that, other people have different faiths and they have different beliefs, and that's okay. And my beliefs and my opinions on my religion may differ from theirs, but at the end of the day, we're all just people. And what a person practices is honestly not my business. The only thing that matters is what I believe in to me. And I'm respectful of everyone else's beliefs as well.
That's very profound. Thank you for sharing that. Did you have any dreams or aspirations for your future while growing up, and how have those dreams evolved over time?
I've always been the kind of person who's honestly not been that sure about what I want to do with my future. I think only in the past few years have I kind of summed it down. I've been told I'd be a great lawyer since I was quite literally 5 years old. Till this day, I still hear it, and I'm starting to see why. But my like childhood dreams, honestly, I just wanted to be happy. I wanted to grow up and like have a life that enabled me to travel and have like really important time with family and friends. And what career was in was not my biggest factor. All I knew was that I did not want to be anything in STEM. I'm so sorry. Um, and I still hold those opinions. So in the next year, we will see what that results in.
Thank you for sharing that. Um, what was the food like in your household? Are there any traditional or cultural dishes that hold any special meaning for you?
Mm. So when it comes to specifically Zambian food, my parents are very big fans of what we call inshima, which there's different names for it in different parts of Africa. I think South Africa calls it pap, and it's literally the same thing. I was not the biggest fan of it growing up, I will not lie. I think also because a lot of the things that I like spawn from, my early childhood, which was in Sweden for the most part. So to this day, I would rather have mashed potatoes and salmon than I would have, in Shema. But it is still nice to like kind of have those meals where it's like I'm eating like proper like home food. It just, I don't know, it hits in a certain way.
Mhm.
And so even my sister, who did not like it that much growing up, she'll like randomly message me and be like, oh my gosh, I'm craving this and this from our culture.
Mhm.
But yeah, the food was very diverse to this day. And I think because we live in so many countries, it just keeps building up. Like now, if you look in my kitchen, you're going to see food from a bunch of different countries. We still have Korean food in our cupboards at
Ooh.
this point. Like it's a lot. And yeah, it depends, it differs person to person. My dad likes not a lot of Korean food. My mom and I love it. My sister loves it. And then, Swedish food, my mom and I love it. My dad, not the biggest fan. My dad still prefers his traditional food a lot. And so, yeah, I think it's very unique. Our kitchen.
Thanks for sharing that. This is one of the last questions we have for today. It's how have you preserved and maintained your heritage and culture while living in all the different countries that you've lived in? And are there any
Mhm.
specific practices or traditions you've continued to embrace?
This is a really difficult question for me, I will not lie, because so much of my life has been detached from my own culture, unfortunately, that I don't have a really strong cultural grounding. I do, however, when I am in, my home country, I love to go to my grandmother and she owns a farm. So we go on the farm, we help out with her and we just spend time with her and she just loves to spoil us while we're there. Um, but for me per se, holding on to my own like cultural traditions and stuff like that, it's really difficult because I wasn't exposed to them, at a young age. And so a lot of the times I do feel kind of, excluded when it does come to more cultural stuff like that. Um, but as I said, it's a learning curve and I'm getting closer with my extended family as well. So hopefully that adds to it a little bit. But for now, I don't know if there's a proper way I can answer that question.
Thanks for your response. This is just a follow-up question, but how would you describe yourself or how would you identify yourself? Like for example, for me, I might identify myself as like a Korean, but
Mhm.
in your case, you've lived in a lot of different countries, so
That's a great question. So because I am what people call a TCK, which is a
Mhm.
third culture kid, um, it's really difficult, that identification process. But I would still say, I am Zambian and I do care for my country a lot. And that's where all my family is. And so even if I don't always exactly fit into the mold of what Zambian should be, I still take pride in it. And it's interesting because I was also born in South Africa. And so it's kind of like, which culture are we picking? And I think just purely because how much I value my family, I would still identify with being Zambian. Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you would like to add or any specific stories you would like to share?
I'm not sure at the moment. Maybe if you get back to me, I might be able to share something. But I just want to say thank you for the interview. It's been great
Yeah.
speaking with you. And yeah, I hope this really helps you.
Thank you. So we have reached the end of our interview today, and I want to express my gratitude for your time and your openness in sharing your personal experiences. Your contribution to this oral history project is genuinely invaluable. Thank you once again, Miyanda, for your participation. Your stories will be preserved for future generations, contributing to a better understanding of migration and diversity. We greatly appreciate your insights and the opportunity to document your unique perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.